What's something about the toy line you think is like the deepest cut? Like no one really knows.
The many comics that were made for Masters. In the early draft, the main character was Beastman, and Skeletor was the henchman.
No way.
Merman was a hero, and He-Man was kind of this bully. Man-at-Arms had more of the personality. There was no power sword. There was something called the Power Gem. It would give you, sort of all this power and access to Castle Grayskull. King Hiss did not appear in the Filmation cartoon. Looks like they were trying to incorporate him, but eventually Lou Scheimer, because he had seen this preliminary artwork, he put his foot down. He said, this is too creepy, too gruesome. We're not going to put it in.
I love the King Hiss.
Dragon Blaster Skeletor, originally going to be called Smoke and Chain Skeletor. And he had this bellows on his back where you would pump talcum powder through a tube. Basically, it's a huge flamethrower, which is why they changed it to a water squirting toy instead. Early versions of Modulok figure that with all the parts that come
So many parts.
So when he came out, there was some problem with the plastic, and basically it was really hard to pull apart, put back together. And we got this trash box rating because couldn't actually put it together, take it apart.
I would love to get one of those early ones.
Front half of the battle ram. It's usually depicted sort of flying through the air. It's in the Filmation cartoon a lot. It's in the new movie. But originally it was supposed to be more of like a hovercraft, but they had to cut the wheels for cost.
Here's what's so cool about Masters of the Universe. A lot of the things that are like iconic that we know of weren't originally that, and there were choices that were either restrictions in manufacturing.
Part of the charm of Masters, I think, is some of the cheapness, because they do a lot with very little. So Man-at-Arms originally came from a different toy line called Robin and the Space Hoods. Robin Hood in Space.
Robin and the Space Hoods. They are sitting on like an IP that should get relaunched.
Point Dread, it was originally the name of Skeletor's lair. Snake Mountain came a little bit later. So Ninja, I don't know if you're familiar with Ninja.
Oh, I am, and he's hard to find with all of his accessories.
Yeah, he is very hard to find. Originally, his face sculpt was based on Lee Van Cleef. He was doing some kind of ninja show at the time. It was so close to it that they had to redo it. The last one, so Castle Grayskull, designed by Mark Taylor. Initially, they took it to the sculpting department to sculpt up a prototype based on his drawings. It came back sort of like a very square, medieval looking castle. And Mark was never satisfied, so he ended up sculpting it himself. He was more of a pen and paper artist, not a sculptor.